Coming up on CMI, the wild ride of David Wells has ranged from perfection on the field to less than perfect behavior off it. Now, the outspoken lefty sits down with Chris Myers and reveals if his rowdy image is fact or fiction.
The attitude, a little bit of toughness. Do you see yourself as that kind of guy?
I don't come off as being tough, but I just, I take pride in what I do. Somebody tells me otherwise, then, we have a problem.
Boomer also admits just how much he's changed his hard-driving ways. Says what he really thinks of Marge Schott and George Steinbrenner, and explains why he's rooting for Barry Bonds.
But you'd be okay, Barry Bonds, all-time home run king.
I would love it.
And should the commissioner be there?
Sure. I don't think why he shouldn't. I mean, if anybody, he should take the heat and answer all the questions.
Find out why the slimmed-down David Wells is still larger than life. Right now on CMI, the Chris Myers Interview.
Thanks for joining us. A pleasure to be talking to David Wells. How are you? You look good.
Great. Feel fine.
Health is good. The lifestyle change. How's that going?
It's good. You know, I conquered it, and I don't have any problems. I don't worry about it. It doesn't control my life. So, just everyday activity for me.
I mean, March, you find out you have diabetes 2, right? I mean, you've been an athlete. I know you've been through a lot of injury. What was your first reaction?
Didn't really faze me. I mean, my mom had it. My brother has it, so I mean.
Is it more about that than lifestyle, or could it be either?
I mean, it could be hereditary like that. I'm not sure, but I mean, who knows? I mean, once they told me I had the symptoms and then I had it, I'm just like, all right, what do I do? And they told me I had to go on some type of diet. Just you got to cut back, and like the sugars, fast food, all that kind of stuff.
All the stuff that you have enjoyed.
All the things that are great in life, and it's something that I'm like, wow, all right. So I did it, but I didn't know how to work it. I wasn't eating. I really wasn't eating that much. I was pretty much starving myself and just eating bits and pieces of having egg whites and, no breads. So I was just trying to figure out what I can have. Like there are certain fruits I couldn't have. So I was just like, wow, all right. And then I just was really lethargic and tired in spring training. And I was pitching. I was doing okay, but, not that great. And I just told him, I said, piss on it. I'm eating a big old plate of pasta the night before I pitch. I don't care what you say. I don't care what I have. I went out the next day and threw a great game. And I think I threw like 6-7 innings.
Did it scare you though when they first mentioned the word diabetes?
No, not at all.
You've been through all. You've had what, gout? Is it, had that right? So that's a little. I don't know too many guys who pitch to the major leagues who.
I'd rather have diabetes than get gout. I mean, it's something that gout is the worst thing possible.
That was in your 2001, right?
Yeah.
Big toe.
Yeah.
And how'd you get that?
It's just uric acid buildup. I mean, it can be caused from, I guess they call it the rich man's disease or whatever it is, but it can
I thought
be
like pirates got that or
yeah,
something.
They did, and King Louis or whatever, King Henry, whatever. But
I should have
they had
researched
you should research and see how many people way back when if they got it.
How many athletes, professional athletes, ever had gout?
I'm sure there's been a few.
Okay, now, was this around the time when you had back surgery or back pain that was career-threatening?
Well, I got it after my surgery, after I had my first back surgery in New York. I got it and all that.
So all these, I mean, you've been pitching more than 20 years in the major leagues, right? The physical wear and tear. I mean, do you ever wonder, is it still worth it, or?
It's always worth it because I still have the passion for it. And, to come to the ballpark every day and go out during BP in the clubhouse, in between the games, just having fun, just joking around, having fun, cutting up with the guys, talking baseball to some of the young guys and as well as the old guys,
And you're still effective, obviously. You're still able to do the job.
And that's why I'm still playing, because not only the passion, but I still get butterflies.
Really? You still get excited?
I still get excited.
At 44 years old?
At 44. And, and Mike Flanagan told me, he goes, once that goes away, then, that's a pretty good indication to walk and do that. But the butterflies haven't gone away. I'm nervous, but just the passion. It's just such a great game. It's a lot of fun.
Your longevity, and I know you were kind of a late blooming starter, But what, I mean, no offense, but not exactly the model of
How do you know? I just wear big clothes, man.
of physical fitness. I'm not a professional athlete, so really I shouldn't judge. But how have you been able to kind of sustain this for
Being
all
an
this
athlete.
time?
Being an athlete.
Oh, really? Okay. And what is it? Is it exercise? Is it eating right? I mean, before.
I mean, I don't fit the mold of a specimen, but I played basketball growing up. I played, a little bit of hockey, lacrosse. I played. I can move. I'm very limber, and for a guy my size to see how limber I am, it's pretty. People go, how the hell do you stretch like that? And because I'm very flexible, and I think, but you know what? Just having coordination, I think, takes you a long way.
You remind me of a Jim McMahon, a Brett Favre, the attitude, a little bit of toughness. I mean, these are guys that are just tough no matter what the conditions are. Do you see yourself as that kind of guy?
I don't come off as being tough, but I just, I take pride in what I do. Somebody tells me otherwise, then, we have a problem, because I know I could do my job better than you can. And it's great because you see all these people yelling at you game after game, telling you you're fat, you're a slob, you're this and that. If I'm going out there throwing shutouts, I'm
hear that
keeping
from fans, right?
All the time, every day. I mean, still. I mean, I heard it last night. From Cub fans here in San Diego.
Does it motivate you, or you've learned to chat and block it out?
It goes in one ear and out the other, because they're just jealous.
Right.
Here I'm out there, 44 years old, having a lot of fun and
making a lot of money. You're a blue collar guy who's made it big, right?
Sure.
He's a millionaire.
I mean, I guess you can look at me and say I'm, I give the big man in life a chance of being successful. And that's kind of the way that I look at it.
All right, we'll continue with David Wells to talk about how much longer he wants to pitch and also when he was perfect. Okay, that's straight ahead here on CMI.
Coming up next.
What has to happen to pitch a perfect game? We know the numbers, we watched the game, but for you...
Hungover.
Well, that was in your book, and you were hungover.
A little bit,
How much did you drink the night before?
I can't disclose.
Oh, come on.
Plus...
George Steinbrenner you played for, and briefly Marge Schott when you were in Cincinnati. Who's crazier as an owner?
Stick around for the answer when we return with more of the Chris Myers Interview with David Wells. Welcome back to the Chris Myers Interview with David Wells.
Popped up right field near the line. O'Neill appears to have room. He puts it away, and David Wells has pitched a perfect game.
Back with David Wells, who attended the same high school as the great Don Larson. And the perfect game, that had to be, and still has to be, the highlight of your career.
Absolutely. I mean, pretty much put me on the map.
Yeah.
I was just a regular guy, that went out there and did his job. But when you throw a perfect game, and then follow it up with some pretty good years, after that, I think that, it makes it even that much more special and, and fascinating for other people.
What has to happen to pitch a perfect game? We know the numbers, we watched the game, but for you, being out there...
Hungover.
Well, that was in your book, and you were hungover.
A little bit,
How much did you drink the night before?
I can't disclose.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't. You know what? I don't know. I had fun that
disclose.
night. I didn't even merely pay attention. I went to Saturday Night Live, had a great time at the show, and I was guest with Lorne Michaels, a really good friend of mine now, and just went to the after party and it just kind of flowed, and and I'm like, oh boy, I got to pitch tomorrow, and stroll in around 5:30. It's it just.
You came in at 5:30.
I was.
How much sleep did you get?
Well, 3-4 hours.
Three or
4 hours. Enough.
So something was working there. Something.
The stars were lined up. That's the way I look at it. The stars were lined up, and it was just something that I'm the last person that would think that. Oh, man, I'm gonna go out and throw a perfect game. No, and there's been so many great pitchers in the history of baseball that that's never done it. Roger Clemens never done it. Greg Maddux has never done it. You know, and those are two pretty damn good pitchers.
So in your book, which you talk about this, Perfect, I'm Not, Boomer on Beer, Brawls, Backaches, and Baseball, which was a terrific read back in 2003. The Yankees, you were later fined.
Still is a good read.
So, okay, it's still available. But the Yankees fined you for saying some things in there that they thought were disparaging to the
tarnish the Yankee image.
And
you know,
your response to that was and still is,
you know, I don't understand why. I mean, if you think I tarnished the Yankee image, then you got to go back to Babe Ruth. You got to go to Mickey Mantle. You know, God rest their souls, but they weren't the stand-up, quote unquote, you know, like Lou Gehrig or Roger Maris type. Joe DiMaggio was, you know, he's a cult hero there, and it's just something that guys just conduct their ways differently than others, and you can't, despite whatever your job description is. I didn't think it was fair.
You've had second tours with teams, Padres, Toronto,
right.
Yankees, Red Sox. What's the difference between a Red Sox fan and a Yankees fan, since you've been on both sides of that?
Well, if you're a Yankee first and then go to Boston and then go back to New York, they're going to throw everything at you. I mean, I was firsthand. I came in as a Padre, got a standing ovation. It was unbelievable, man. I had tears coming out of my eyes. And I was very overwhelmed, but then I came back as a Red Sox, and I got booed, and I'm like the Antichrist in New York as a Boston, right, because of that rivalry, and vice versa. I mean, those two cities are just, they're intense.
Is that why that's the best rivalry in baseball?
Yeah, there's no question at all, and I think that they, you know, once those fans, they love, especially Boston, their fans are dedicated, and they're crazy. They're absolutely nuts, and that's a great thing for baseball fans in Boston. And New York, I mean, they're there, but there's a couple teams in New York, so, you know, a lot of them can be fair weather fans or whatever, but New York's got some pretty dedicated fans as well. I think if you have a chance to play, you got to play in those two cities.
Well, and you in San Diego grew up, you were a Yankee fan, but now coming back to San Diego, is the environment more, it appears more relaxed, more easygoing? Does that affect a team or the intensity in the way that they play or approach the game?
Well, I think people want to step their game up when they go into New York.
Right.
I mean, you're on a field where these greats have played, and anything good that can happen in baseball seems to always happen in New York, and it's unbelievable. Boston's kind of the same way. San Diego, it's not. It's just, I mean, you come here, it's just relaxed. I wish we can get fans like New York and Boston here, and we got some really good fans here in San Diego, but the intensity-wise there is not the intensity-wise here in San Diego.
Speaking of New York, George Steinbrenner you played for, and briefly Marge Schott when you were in Cincinnati. Who's crazier as an owner?
Well, we could talk all we want about Marge. She's passed, but I mean, it wouldn't be good. It'd probably come back to bite you. But I didn't like Marge. I thought she was terrible. I mean, she was a moody lady. I didn't think she was fair.
What about George Steinbrenner?
I love him to death.
Yeah,
I think as George is, I mean, he's the man there. He calls all the shots, but he wants warriors. He wants guys that are gamers, and he's going to test you. And he tested me, and I called his bluff and went after him, you know, in the clubhouse, and you know, and really got in his face. And ever since then, we've been pretty good friends ever since. I could not say anything bad about George. George has done some crazy things in his life,
right?
But everyone focuses on that, and they don't focus on the good things that he's done. And he's brought back Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, you know, and a lot of teams wouldn't do it. A lot of owners wouldn't do that. But that's how big of a heart George Steinbrenner has.
All right, we'll continue with David Wells here on CMI. We'll ask him if he was the commissioner of baseball, what's the first thing he would do? Don't go away.
Coming up next.
David Wells, whose legend is that he was raised by his mother in the Hells Angels.
Come to the house where I lived in Ocean Beach, and you know, there'd be 200 motorcycles around the whole block, and there'd be a 3-day party.
Plus,
Barry Bonds set to break the all-time home run record. Does it bother you? Are you rooting for him?
stick around for the answer when we return with more of the Chris Myers Interview with David Wells. Coming up next on the Chris Myers Interview, David Wells clears the air once and for all about Roger Clemens' contract demands.
Is that how you would feel if you got that deal on your team?
I'd be jealous. I mean, I'm jealous I don't got it. I mean, who wouldn't want to have that deal?
Also coming up,
If you were the commissioner of baseball, David Wells is in charge, what's the first thing across the board, any rule, any concept that you would do?
Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
that's next on the Chris Myers Interview with David Wells. Welcome back to CMI, the Chris Myers Interview.
And we're continuing with David Wells, whose legend is that he was raised by his mother in the Hells Angels. Who was your father figure, a role model growing up?
Well, my mom's boyfriend, Crazy Charlie. He's passed since, but you know, my mom dated him for about 10 years, off and on, and so he was always around, and you know, it was pretty cool because I mean, he was a member of the Hells Angels, and that's all the people I knew growing up. I mean, I played all my sports. They always went to my Little League games, so it was pretty cool. But people were like looking around, going, "What the hell is going on here?
Whose relatives?
Yeah, who's this? Whose kid is this?" But I mean, it was just neat. They treated me like family, you know, and that's something. It was cool on the weekends because you come to the house where I lived in Ocean Beach, and you know, there'd be 200 motorcycles around the whole block. And there'd be a 3-day party.
Is there still I mean, do you ride Harleys? Are you still part of that group, that lifestyle, if we could say that?
I'm still friends with a lot of the guys. I mean, a lot of them have passed. You know, obviously as I get older, they're getting older. But you know, there's people in New York, some of the HAs in New York that I know. And
well, and when you talked about a lifestyle change, you know, with your health, alcohol, kind of cutting that out for the most part, is that difficult?
No.
In that environment?
No, I drink wine. I love red wine. Doctor said, you know, that's cool. Just do it in moderation.
Especially after you said the perfect game.
Yeah, don't do it like you did the perfect game, but, you know, moderation. You can have some Jack Daniels, you know, on the rocks because it doesn't have sugar in it, and just do it in moderation. And I've done it, and I've lost some weight from it, and, you know, I feel pretty good. I mean, eventually, the older you get, of course, you want to take better care of yourself.
Right. And Kevin Towers, GM of the Padres, told me, aside from pitching well, that's one of the things you've been a positive influence on young pitchers and players on this Padre team, which is a nice compliment.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, and it is. It's good because I've been around a long time. I have a lot of knowledge, and I think that any kid that wants to talk baseball and learn the game of baseball. I mean, Roger Clemens right now, he's in a spot where he's in the minor leagues pitching. I mean, you don't think these kids are chomping at the bit trying to talk to him and get in his mind? He's got a lot to offer. I mean, he's obviously a Hall of Famer. He's got pretty good credentials. A lot of kids can learn from that with Greg Maddux as well.
Speaking of Roger Clemens, clarify comments that you made or that we heard about his deal that he got in New York, whether it was unfair, whether other teammates wouldn't like it.
Right.
What?
No, a guy in Florida asked me, he goes, "What do you think?" I think it's great that he's great for the game. I knew he was going to come back. You know, you can never retire and still have that, you know, that fire that he has. And, you know, and playing with the Yankees, teammates with Roger in New York, he was a great teammate.
Right.
He's a great guy. He's funny. He's very comical. But I just said, going back to New York, I don't think that they would give him the same deal as they did in Houston. He didn't have to travel. And, you know, and I said, I think some guys might be a little disrespected from that whole thing. It'd be a little disrespect towards the team because it's such a, you know, a Yankee thing.
Is that how you would feel if you got that deal on your team?
I'd be jealous. I mean, I'm jealous I don't got it. I mean, who wouldn't want to have that deal?
Okay.
And that's the thing that.
But what about a team concept and being one of the guys?
It just would. I don't think I could do it. I mean, as much as I mean, maybe from time to time here and there. Because, yeah, we put in a lot of years, so, yeah, do we deserve it? I believe so. But I don't think on a regular basis. I think some of the guys might take it the wrong way, especially some of the young guys, and that might just start another trend later on in their careers as well. And I think as a team, you're there with the team, make it a team thing.
Babe Ruth, one of your idols, Barry Bonds set to break the all-time home run record. Does it bother you? Are you rooting for him?
I am rooting for him. I think, you know, records are made to be broke. And I think that, you know, Barry is right there. I mean, he's going to do it, obviously. And, and it's great.
What about the cloud or steroid suspicion around him and the modern era of baseball?
Well, that's people are. I mean, Congress is dealing with that.
How should fans? And you've been in a game. You said more than 20 years. How should fans view this? Should they brush it off? Should they just understand that some guys did it and some didn't?
Some guys have done it. Some guys have come forth. Some guys have done it, haven't come forth probably. And I think, don't judge a guy for what he's done or what you think he's done. Judge him for the player and what he's done as a player and putting all these numbers up. I think you should judge him in that regards and not stereotype people in that regards as well. I mean, if you took a survey, most people would think. But, I mean, he's never tested positive.
Right.
And so.
But you'd be okay, Barry Bonds, all-time home run king.
I would love it.
That wouldn't bother you.
It wouldn't bother me a bit.
Should the commissioner be? Hank Aaron has said he won't attend when that happens. Should the commissioner be there?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think in any situation, he's been there for a lot of things. I don't think why he shouldn't. I mean, if anybody, he should take the heat and answer all the questions. Hank Aaron shouldn't. I mean, he's been around a long time. And I don't think that he would want to be subject to that type of talk and, because Barry Bonds is going to break his record. No, I think the commissioner should be there and deal with it.
You've been candidly critical of the commissioner in the past, but if you were the commissioner of baseball, David Wells is in charge, what's the first thing across the board, any rule, any concept that you would do?
I think anybody, if you did a 100%, everyone would say put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
That's
the first thing still on your mind?
That's the first thing,
wow.
And then put Goose Gossage in secondly, and without voting him in or whatever, he's deserving. But, I think that putting Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame is very deserving. He did it as a manager, he came forth, he said that. He didn't do it as a player.
How much longer do you think you want to pitch?
I've been lying to you guys for a long time, so I think since after 98.
We keep asking,
Yeah, and I keep saying this in my last year, I'm just going to make him rip the jersey off my back.
Okay, so you might pitch, could you pitch at 50 if your health holds up?
If my health holds up, my knees and back feels great, and I can still, get guys out, why not? Julio Franco, I'm on your tail, man.
You and Roger Clemens will be pitching at 50.
I think it would be great. And keep Maddox in the game, too.
We'll get you a senior citizens discount if we could. What else would you like to do, David? World Series, the perfect game. Is there anything that you haven't done in the game that you say, I'm going to hang around for this reason?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get a Cy Young. Cy Young, I think, would be a very good credential. I've been, runner-up, and I've been, in the top 5 a few times, but Cy Young would be great. But I know I'm not going to get it, not at this age, and the way they have the, especially in the National League, they hit for you in the 4th inning sometimes.
You're out. So, but
you got no chance.
Maybe another ring for you and World Series in San Diego.
The biggest thing I would like is to get a ring here in San Diego. I mean, I was on the '98 team in New York, and we beat San Diego. But that would put icing on the cake. I would retire if we won a World Series.
Really? Okay, we can write that one down.
So that's what we need to do this year is focus on that, but you got to go one game at a time.
Okay, then you could ride your Harley off into the sunset. All right, thanks. It's always great talking to you. Stay in good health, all right?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate David Wells being with us. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
To see bonus footage of this interview, log on to foxsports.com on MSN. That's where you'll find streaming video from past interviews and previews of upcoming guests. It's only at foxsports.com on MSN. Keyword CMI.